Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at flyfisherinsiderpodcast. Now let's begin. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Today our guest is Heather Hodson. Heather is a longtime fly fisher who is well recognized within the industry. Heather is also the founder of United Women on the Fly, which is an angling community that educates, encourages, and connects anglers from around the globe. When Heather's not traveling, teaching, or hosting industry fly fishing events, Heather is also a nurse in the Cardiac Critical Care Unit. Here today to tell us more is Heather Hodson. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. I know it's been a while, and I know we both got back from trip. Quickly do this.
Yep.
I know the audience and the listeners are excited to learn about you. So with that, tell us about who you are, where you're from, your family, where you live, and where you grew up.
So I am a Pacific Northwest girl. I was actually born in Alaska. And so my dad was a hunting guide in Alaska. My uncle actually owns a fly fishing lodge there. He's been Tick Chick, which has been around for like he's owned it for 32 years. So kind of fishing and hunting have always been in my blood. I grew up near Mount St. Helens area, and it rains a lot in the Portland area. And so I just decided that I was going to, rather than bitching about it, I was going to move somewhere. So I chose Spokane, Washington. And I've been in Spokane for about 20 years now, and it is home. So I absolutely love just Eastern Washington. I love the Pacific Northwest, and I'll always be kind of a mountain girl. So that's where I'm at. And have brothers. My dad, he's retired now, but huge hunter, huge fisher. And my mom's been kind of getting into fishing kind of the last 5 or 6 years. It's been really fun teaching her how to double haul. And now she's out there practicing every day, and she's emailing me and sending me videos. And to be honest, she'll probably be better caster than my dad here in a couple months. So it's really cool to just see that my family's pretty involved within just my life and fly fishing as well.
That's amazing to hear and see. When you're in Washington, let me ask you. So you're in Washington. What's your day job in Washington?
Yeah, so I'm actually a critical care nurse. That's my real job. It's funny because people will think, or they'll always come up to me and they're like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. And they just don't think that I actually really work because I have to support myself to pay for all of this stuff.
I get this. I get this as well.
Yeah, so I've been a nurse for almost 15 years. I started out in the ICU, and I've always worked critical care. I'm currently in the cath lab. So basically, when I'm on call in Spokane, then anybody in the area that has a heart attack, I come in and help with that. We'll place stents, mechanical hearts. We'll do different ablations. We'll put in pacemakers, defibrillators, all kinds of stuff. So basically, it's all cardiac is where I'm at right now. So.
You know what, Heather, getting back to the fly fishing, and that's what I kind of want to focus on here. So let's talk about your love and your early day love of fly fishing and how you got the bug.
I got the bug because, I've always conventional gear fished or hunted. And, there's just something special about fly fishing. You see people out there and it's beautiful. It's very romantic, and so I wanted to be that person. And so I started fishing, actually fly fishing relatively not too long ago in 2008. So I'm pretty new to the sport, but I've kind of dove right into it. And it took me an entire year to catch my first fish on the fly. And I think it was just the zen, right? Like of being out there on the river and knowing that fish don't live in ugly places, and just the continual keep doing it. And finally I caught like this little 6-inch West Coast or cutthroat. That's this little wild cutthroat in my area in North Idaho. And it's like, man, I'm totally hooked. And have just kind of progressed from there. I always wanted to know I think being in the medical field, I want to know the physiology. I want to know the whys, the hows, everything about it. As I was learning, I wasn't, people would just say, hey, just put this little brassy on your line. Like I didn't even know what tip it was. I didn't know what leaders were. somebody cut off the welded loop on my fly line and told me that I needed to use a nail knot tool now. Like, I didn't know. I reached out to a local fly shop
Yeah.
and took a class, and then kind of just dove in from there and just wanted to know everything and get as nerdy as I absolutely could be. And that's kind of what I've done.
You mentioned a few struggles in there, learning curves and struggles. The nail knot and a year without catching your fish. Is there any other struggles you had?
Just kind of, yeah, just I wasn't good. And I think the struggle too is you see social media was kind of newer at that time, 11, 12 years ago.
Mm.
It's still there, but much, not like it is today. But you like see people's photos or you hear people talk. And I remember Sean, the owner of the local fly shop, I would always see his photos and he's always catching these big fish, and I'm like catching these small fish. And I just was struggling with that. It's like I'm fishing the same water. I think I'm doing it right, and I just wasn't good. And that was a struggle. I wanted to be better. And I think just anything that I do in my life, whether it's nursing or teaching or educating or becoming an angler, I just want to be the best that I absolutely can be personally. And so I kind of took that struggle, or kind of thought of it more of as a challenge, and took that challenge
Yeah.
and was like, man, I need to get better. I want to get better. I want to be the best that I can be. And that's kind of where I'm at.
So not only that, like you've reached like all time levels in your career. I mean, it only goes up from here, and you're doing fantastic already. But what are some of the things? Did you reach out to cast it? Like I see you now, you're a two-handed angler as well. I mean, that takes a lot of skill to use. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't go that route. So you've also, like myself, like I love two-handing. Did you reach out and take
Oh
lessons in
yeah,
that, or is that all
absolutely.
still fun?
And the funny thing about two-handed is that it's intimidating. And I honestly wish that I would have learned how to two-hand cast before I ever learned how to single-hand cast. Because I feel that if you learn the proper way to roll cast and you learn how to do, sustain anchor casts and all of that,
Mhm.
then you're actually going to be well ahead of the game with a single hand cast. So like anybody that I recommend now, it's like, man, let's work on this roll cast and let's work on this. And yeah, I took lessons. I took a lesson before I ever even tried it because I didn't want to learn the wrong way. I joke with a lot of my students now. I love students that are fresh and have never even picked up a fly rod, because I always say, oh, that's perfect. That means you have no bad habits,
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, lessons for sure. Now I'm diving in and taking the journey and getting my certified instructor, my casting instructor, through the FFI, Fly Fishers International. And so I have a casting coach. I mean, I'm spending 4 hours on just my pickup, right? Like to make sure that I don't deviate from the 180-degree plane. All just silly stuff. And I always tell my women, and really I've been teaching a lot of co-ed lately too, is that NBA players don't get good at free throws without shooting free throws. So the only way that you're going to get good and become better is by casting and practicing, and to not practice casting when you're fishing, but to practice before you're fishing, that kind of stuff. So I think it's very valuable.
Yeah. It's well
Yeah,
said. Hundred
yeah.
percent well said. Um, there's nothing like going out to a nice place, and that's when you're practicing. That's just the
Yeah,
wrong
or if
place.
like
I
somebody,
agree with
I
that.
always hear, people will go out to, I don't know, Mexico or some really nice salt, water
Mhm.
location, and they've spent a lot of money and they haven't practiced, and it's going to make your trip, it just won't make it as lovely if you're not prepared. You have to just prepare yourself for it and just know you have to put in a little time in order to actually do well.
Yeah, Heather, you know what? I want to jump into the United Women on the Fly, and I know I want you to take it to a very
Yeah.
basic level. For those of the listeners that are listening that don't know what United Women on the Fly is, can you let us know how you got started in that, or what the passion is that pushed you towards that environment? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, United Way on the Fly is basically a community of anglers. We mostly women, that is now global. We started locally, kind of in just the Spokane area. I actually started Spokane Women on the Fly 7 years ago, and it was just local to our area. And it just, we grew very quickly, and it was pretty exciting. And so people started to see that, and then they wanted to either start a similar kind of structure, or they wanted to be a part of it. And so rather than being self-limiting to the Spokane area, I just opened it up to United. And it's not United States, it's United, we are united as anglers. And it's just, like you said, it's trying to keep or resources, so we have a central hub, our website that basically shows any groups that have signed up. So if you wanted to look for a group in North Carolina or wherever, if that group has put themselves on our website, you can just go to it and you can look. So it's kind of just a central hub and a way, just to have resources and a way for women to connect. So if you're going to Tasmania, perhaps you can reach out to another angler and say, hey, I'm going to be out here, do you want to fish? Can I crash on your couch? Or can you help me out with any local information? And kind of my big thing right now with it is education. I'm huge on mentorship, and I feel that anybody that's learned something, anybody can be a mentor, and I want to pass that education on. If somebody else knows a nail knot, and if you know it and one person doesn't, even though you may not be the best angler, you still know something more than someone else, and so you can be a mentor. And that's kind of what United is about as well, is just mentorship and education and just sharing the love of the knowledge and just the love of the
Would
sport.
it be safe to say that's the collaborative goal of the program? Is the mentorship?
Yeah, absolutely. And just connection and community, and trying to make it, diverse as we can. It's funny because like diversity is not just about male female, right? Like that's kind of the way that it seems sometimes, but
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because that's such a misconception too. That's where people think diversity, and especially in the sport as well. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're
yeah,
saying.
I mean, there's age diversity, there's body type diversity, there's fish species diversity. It's not always just trout. There's so much more out there that you can catch. And, there's obviously ethnicity, there's gear choices, whether you spend a lot of money, or you diverse and you're like, hey, I don't need to spend, $1,000 on something. I can just buy something else. And, shop diversity too, like not being shop specific, so I just want to just have United just be this community of all inclusiveness and just inviting and just and it's not just female. I mean, we have gentlemen that are on all of our stuff, and we love that. It's
Mhm.
about the community and the family that's created.
I love that, community and family. And how does one get involved with your community and family, with United? Like, walk us through the steps. Would they just apply online? How did they reach
Yeah,
out
it's
to you?
actually all free. There's nothing, it's just a community. So we have a closed group. It's United Women on the Fly. It's a closed group in Facebook. And it's pretty cool because there's almost 3,000 members or people that are affiliated with
Mhm.
it. And of those 3,000, 90% of them are active. So we have, like, I just looked it up today. It's 2,942 people are in the group. And of those people, 2,648 people are active. So that tells you just
Oh,
how
that's great.
excited people are about it, and just, how open and welcoming it is. And that, and then there's also just a website, that has, I'm doing a lot more things, Tuesday tips. So the next 2 months, it's all based on spay fishing. So it's kind of taking it, kind of down to the 101 level, but just explaining, things. And just, I'm all about, just like I said, I'm all about educating. So that you can go to the website, it's uwotf.com. So unitedwomenonthefly.com.
I'll put that in the show notes for sure. But Heather, I want to talk about this Tuesday. This is news to me. I'm just learning this as well. This Tuesday
Yeah.
101. I mean, like, what do you feel the benefit of that is to your members?
Well, I want to add value, right? There's something to be
Mhm.
said about, you can have a community or you can have a brand or you can, be an influencer or whatever. But if you're not adding and giving value to people that are following you or just to the world in general, then I don't know. To me, I just want to give value. And so Tuesday tips, I did one thing on water temperatures for trout, like optimal water temperatures. It's
Mhm.
kind of just the education portion of it, because I feel that, there's a lot of things that you see, especially on social media, that may not be right, such as improper fish handling or, whatever it may be. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the not knowing. And
Correct.
so if, or reds, like fishing on reds or standing on reds or whatever it
Mhm.
may be. And I think that if you educate rather than accuse and be mean about it, I think that you have to take the higher road and you have to educate. And, so that's kind of, I just want to add value. And it's not just for ladies. I want it to be just valuable to the entire fly fishing industry.
I gotta say, you're such an easy person to like podcast because like you're just taking all like my content and my answers before I can even think of them, and you're
Sorry.
just like banging them out. Like I'm sitting there going, okay, well, it's all about bringing value, and you're like talking about value, and it's just like probably one of the most relaxing, easiest podcasts I've ever. But it's so true. Everything you're saying is like so true and so on the mark, and I'm so in agreement because it's one thing to be an influencer, but an influencer of what? You know what I mean? And it's to
Yeah.
bring that value is so important, and to bring, and I agree with you with the one-on-one because I'm all about that as well. I know we have tons of vlogs coming out here, and videos as well that we're filming, and it's all one-on-one. Take it to the most comfortable
Right.
level for your viewer or audience, and it offers that content, even if they get one thing, or if they don't,
Hmm.
at least you're providing an entertainment value. So I agree with that. So you know it sounds like United Women on the Fly is doing fantastic. You're doing fantastic, but it couldn't have always been like that. So, what are some of the roadblocks that United Women on the Fly has faced? Can you take us back to some of those, or if you still face?
Yeah, and we still face them. It's the diversity thing for sure. Actually, I just today received a message that I was being very insensitive to a calendar that I just created. And it's interesting because I try to be as inclusive and try to be as diverse as I can. And there's just things that I don't think about. And so I think,
Hmm.
and there's always the assumptions, and especially with fly fishing too, is, I just got back from a trip to Russia and I spent a lot of money to go to Russia. And I was asked by multiple gentlemen if I was fishing. And it's like, why would I ever spend this much money and come to Russia and not fish? Are you kidding me? And obviously they don't, it's assumptions. And I think that has always been a struggle. And I think that it'll probably continue to be a struggle. Is that just people assume that whoever you are, whether you're male, female, whatever, that, even males, like you walk into a fly shop and if you're a guy, people automatically assume that you know what you're doing. And, it's funny because I think that it can be intimidating for gentlemen as well. Like, hey, I don't know, and asking for help. So I think the
Yeah,
assumption is probably the biggest struggle that that even with United Women on the Fly too is, yeah, just assuming like, wow. And people sometimes get upset if it's women only, and I get that. I get that side of view, that point of view. Yeah.
that was actually going to be my question: is if you face a gender challenge on that, because there's people out there that might want to fish with you, some
Hmm.
guys that might want to fish with you, or whatnot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, are upset that we are that my classes are women specific, right? And so now you can kind of see
Hmm.
with United Went on the Fly, we're starting to do a lot, or I'm starting to do, and a lot more co-ed classes. And kind of my hope with that is that myself and hopefully I can get a few other educators around the globe that are affiliated with United Went on the Fly, that we all have the same structure, the same curriculum, blah blah blah, but I'd like to continue those co-ed classes because I feel that sure it sometimes is women are more comfortable being taught by a female, but there's a point where you're just an angler, right? Like where you're just an angler. And so by being just an angler, it doesn't matter who you're being taught by, And one of the struggles that's interesting, I just did an entomology 101 and beyond class at the local fly shop here in Spokane, and I had 6 guys. And so it was super cool, and they're like, "Oh man, our guys welcome." And it's like, "Well, absolutely, you're welcome. You're just being taught by a woman. There's no difference, right? We're all anglers and we all are educated." And So
Mhm.
yeah, that's a bit of a struggle is the gendering, because guys want to be included, and that's great. I think that that's awesome, and that's the way that it should be.
No, of course they do. I couldn't agree more. Guys do want to be included. Now I know you mentioned some aspects as well. I guess it was on social media that they must have reached out about the calendar, because that's where I saw it posted recently as well.
Yeah, there was
Um,
something. Yeah,
is
yeah.
that a big factor for you as well, being like who you are and your connection in the industry? Do you find that there's a social media pushback sometimes from
Oh,
people?
absolutely. Yeah, there I think anytime you put yourself out there or who you are or what you do,
Hmm.
there's always going to be pushback. And and the reality is not everybody gets along,
Yep.
and that's okay. I don't think that there's always two sides of the story, and that's what I always try to think. I try to take a deep breath and just and think about it. And it's like, okay, why is this person reacting like this? And what can I do? I have to look within and say, hey, is there something that I personally can change?
Hmm.
And so I'm kind of this rainbows and unicorn kind of person, and I want to be the best I can be. So if I'm doing something wrong, then please, I want to change. And there's sometimes that there's just haters and people that just aren't nice.
Yeah.
And kind of there is cyberbullying. It's really, and honestly, if you saw my block list, it's like I don't have time for that. I only have time for the positive aspects in life. And I don't want to, I just don't have time.
No, well,
I'm too
well
busy.
said. No, that's perfect, right? I mean, that's how I am as well, and that's how I kind of deal with it. I just don't respond. I just let things be.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah, and there's points where you have to respond because you wanna defend who you are and what your beliefs are,
Mhm.
and, and I tend to be as polite as I
Of
absolutely
course.
can, because I'm not here to make enemies, or it's funny, it's just this is fishing, man,
Yes.
it's fly fishing, we're anglers, we're just
Yeah.
humans. So,
It's
yeah, it's
just,
pretty funny.
it is funny. Yeah. Sometimes I think about the things I really want to say, but whatever.
I know. I just open mouth insert foot, and I just know that for every, negative comment, there's so much positive there, that's what keeps me going, and
Mm.
that's what's more important than anything negative.
Speaking
So,
of positive, tell me about some of your more recent trips with United Women on the Fly and the programs and stuff that you're initiating or you have coming up that you'd like to talk about. I definitely want to know what.
yeah. Being from Alaska, I host a women's trip. This was our third year in for United that just hosted a trip, and unfortunately, I was in Russia, and so I couldn't host this year's trip. So I asked my casting coach Molly Semenek if she could host it for me, and she did. And just it was so cool to I'm getting all the social media posts, and how happy and joyous these women are for taking a trip of a lifetime. You just got back from Alaska,
Hmm.
how special Alaska is. And it just melted my heart just to have people that are so excited and just so thankful for given that opportunity to even meet other women and go and fish with them. And so we just did the Alaska trip. And then Jackie Van Dyke, she's actually been hosting a couple of trips affiliated with United over in Wisconsin. So, like I said, there's diversity in fish species. Well, she's doing tiger
Well,
muskie and
yeah.
she's doing pike and bass and all this great stuff. And they're just having an amazing time too, and just catching fish. And yeah, it's been awesome with that. And future stuff, well, I'm actually going to Atlanta. I leave on Friday to go to this Down the Hatch event. It's an
Hmm.
Orvis event. Jen Ripple and I are going to be hosting a young women in fly fishing panel. And so we're going to go and fish with and teach with 7 or 8 young girls. And so we're doing that. And then other trips like Pyramid Lake, some Alaska stuff. I mean, there's always stuff
Yeah.
in the works, I'm going to be hosting a trip to Christmas Island with Amy Hazel, the Deschutes angler, next year. So yeah, it's cool to see that that women want to travel and want to start to spend money on fishing. And I think that that's kind of a new thing, it's there's the addicted ladies like myself that I'll spend, whatever, like God knows how much I spent for Russia, but I'm the unusual person, right? The average person just doesn't do that. And I think seeing that a woman can relate to somebody on social media and say, "Oh, I look just like that person and they're doing it, I can do it." And so I think that that's why some of these trips are starting to fill up, and people see that, oh, it's not just young girls that are there, it's all everybody, and yeah, so it's been pretty cool. It's
I
been really
definitely
fun.
think it's a lot of fun for you guys to do that and to offer that to your members and anyone in general. I want to ask you, what do you feel about the hosted trip scene? Like when you do your hosted trip, and this is coming at it from a curiosity point of view. Have you already fished these places that you go to, or is it just somewhere that you have a trusted advisor, like someone that you know? Like, because I know the hosted trip thing is really exploding, and I talk to a lot of people, and I mean everyone's trying to get into it. And I mean, but some people are doing it good, and some people are doing it well. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
how do you go about to really create an environment to make sure that your hosted trip is bang on?
I want to go there first. I think that
Perfect.
it's important, especially if you're taking a bunch of women and maybe novice anglers,
Mhm. That's what
and the
yeah.
hard part is, guides, are these guides nice? You could be the best guide in the world. If you're going to yell at me for screwing up, I don't want to fish with you.
Mhm.
And I
Sorry, especially a novice. That's one
absolutely.
way to turn them
Well,
off, right?
and
Like,
yeah, even as an I mean, I'm a decent angler and I don't wanna get yelled at. I don't want personally, and I won't spend money on somebody that's gonna do that. And so I look for that. A lot of the trips that I'm doing, I'm really kind of looking at more of a fish bum budget type of stuff because I want to give value. I don't want it to be, an crazy extravagant, obscene amount of money. I want it to be clean. I want it to be professional, but it doesn't have to be like 5 stars. And because I want to offer a trip that women can afford or anglers in general can afford, but it's also good fishing and the people are nice. That's kind of what I look for, is
which
price.
is great.
Yeah,
It's yeah, I mean, it gives someone comfort and security that here they are, and as a beginner or a somewhat beginner, I mean, it's again, it's a better environment. You know what I mean? It's more relaxing, right? I know
absolutely.
it
Yeah,
can be intimidating to travel across the world and go fish one of these amazing fisheries where you think that everyone's going to be an amazing fisher or an advanced fisher, whatever the term, and you're a beginner, but you're there because you want to be there. And I'm glad that
totally.
that's why I asked you that question to really point that out that it's this is where we're at. So. I know you mentioned earlier that you have an event with Orvis. Is
Mhm.
that any 50-50 stuff
It
or
is, yeah, it's, well, I think it's 50, yeah, I mean, because Orvis is 50-50, right? Like, that is their
Mm.
initiative. So, yeah,
So yeah, let's
yeah.
jump in all in that, Heather. Tell us how you got started, your involvement, what you are involved with that, and
So
yeah.
it's funny because when 50-50 started, quite a few years ago actually now, so they kind of reached out to, I think it was 50 kind of main ladies,
Mhm.
in the area or in the world, I believe, and just wanting to be kind of ambassadors for 50-50. And I'm sure most everybody knows what 50-50 is, but originally when it started, it was they wanted to be 50-50 by 2020. Now that, it probably is not going to happen because we're almost to 2020, but we're definitely growing, and what it is 50% females per 50% males. And, statistic wise, I think I'd be wrong if I could tell you the exact, number. It's changing and it's growing and it's a good number. And so it's just kind of the initiative now where it's just equal. We just want everyone just to be equal on the water and just to show that anybody can fish and the sport is for everyone. And I love that. I love the initiative. I love, even though it's a part of Orvis, it's an initiative for the entire fly fishing industry. It's not just Orvis specific, and I love that too, because there are people that can't fit in Orvis, stuff, or that don't shop Orvis, but they still want to be a part of the initiative. So it's not limiting to just that specific company. It's entailing everybody, and that's why I love it so much.
I think all of us love it. I mean, and with the recent growth of women, and I don't want to say recent, but the more people are aware of the women involved in the sport. I think it's just phenomenal. And again, like I said earlier, I interview a lot of brands. I mean, it's my whole thing, and they're so accepting to this. And as a male and as a fly angler, it's just I'm so accepting to it. I just fished with two great women up in Alaska as well, and it's great.
Right.
So I agree with the Orvis program and everything. So what's it like to be involved with that, like personally?
It's awesome. you know, it's rewarding, and I love that now you say 50-50. I mean, for the most
Hmm.
part, everybody knows what it is. And I think that that's pretty special. I think that, that just the whole idea behind it, there's just been so much support. And I think that that's probably the most special thing about it is just the support. People want to support it. People want to see this, the industry change. And the reality is we have to change, because the average fly angler is not a young person and is not a young female, and so I think it's cool to just see the support. I think that's the most rewarding and best thing is people are very supportive of it.
What are some of the projects you've done with 50/50?
They've done a lot they've supported both Jen Ripple and myself with our Rip and Hoppers adventures. And so they've been sponsors for that. And so we've done a lot of just a multitude of events, with them and for them. And pretty much every event that we do or every tag, every post I ever post, it says 50-50 on the water. So pretty much everything
Hmm.
and anything I do is encompassing the 50-50 initiative. So, I mean, it's life, it's everything. So, but Orvis has been super supportive of Jen and I, and just our mission to kind of keep Fishbum budget stuff and take a road trip around the country, and meet up with the community, and not only women but just the community in general, and just have fun and just show that you can be yourself, and fly fishing doesn't have to be hoity toity. It can just be you can be
Hmm.
who you are, and it doesn't matter, what you fish or whatever. So they've been very, very supportive.
You said road trip around the country, and it just kind of reminded me of something that Jen, when I had interviewed her, she was talking about. You guys are going to, oh, what was it, New
Yeah.
Orleans or
New
something?
Orleans for
And
Halloween.
what? Yeah, she's like, Mike, you should come. And I'm like, well, I don't know, like, how would I explain that to my wife? I'm gonna go to New Orleans for Halloween with a
Well,
bunch of
there's a
women.
bunch of
So
guys that'll be there too.
I I know that's what she said too. She's like, no, no, really, you should come. There'll be guys. And I'm like, okay. So, um, yeah, what like talk a bit more about that.
Yeah. So, last year, Jen and I, we went from Nashville all the way to Craig, Montana. And at the end, so in our 2018 road trip, at the end of it, NBC Nightly News actually did a full story on it, which was really cool, just on United on the Fly, on Dun Magazine, and just showing, kind of women in angling. And that was a year ago. And this year, we decided that we wanted to do a redfish trip. So we're calling it the Redfish Roadie. And so right after IFTD, I'm flying to Nashville. And then Jen and I are going to drive from Nashville to Florida. And we're basically going to be hosting kind of four different areas for redfish. There'll be four of them will be in Florida. And so we'll start in Homosassa, and we're trying to just work with the local guides. We're working with Captain Lacey in Homosassa, and each place that we're going to
Mhm.
be hosting a co-ed casting community event. So there's this really cool challenge by the FFI. It's called there's all these different casting challenges, and it's not a test, it's just a challenge, and it's fun. And so we're working with all the local casting and fly fishing clubs all over Florida and Louisiana, and they're going to help us host these different challenges. So it's just a way to encompass co-ed and just everybody, the community, and just either learn how to cast or try to become a better caster, or maybe show off your skills. And so we're going to be hosting all these
Mhm.
events, and then we'll end up in Louisiana, and then we're going to drive down to Cocodrie, and fish. I reserved 4 guides in Cocodrie for a couple days. And let me tell you, Louisiana in November is not easy to get guides because, redfish is, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. So yeah, we'll have 8 women in Cocodrie fishing for redfish and then coming back and spending time in New Orleans and just hanging out.
Cool. I love it. How much traveling do you do? It seems like every time like I'm a follower of yours. How much traveling do you actually do? Like, and you mentioned all those
Oh my
hosted
God,
trips.
so much.
Yeah.
It's really funny because on Monday, I actually had an IRS audit for my travel. And I can say this because I'm
Yeah.
totally legit and I passed with flying colors. They actually like we're finding things that I messed up on, but in my
Yeah.
favor, which is awesome. Like, so it was such a stress-free IRS thing. So, I mean, I travel a lot and it was funny because it was based on 2017. And so I actually was looking at everything that
Hmm.
I have done. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah. And any vacation that I'm doing is fishing related because it's what I love and I'm learning and I'm educating myself. It's like continuing ed as a nurse. I have to do a bunch of classes. Well, in order to become a better angler, you have to have
Correct.
time on the water. You can't get good
Yeah.
without doing it. And so, yeah, I would say any spare moment I have, I'm probably
I like it.
traveling. So I have a lot of air miles. It's fun. I love it. I love eating local. I love drinking local. I love fishing local. I love exploring and just, yeah, seeing the world and becoming a better angler, with different fishing techniques and learning how, in Tasmania, they call it
Okay.
Polaroiding.
No,
I don't know if you've
yeah.
ever heard that term. I
Tell us.
hadn't heard it. And meaning that they're just looking, they're glassing, right? They're looking through their polarized lenses for fish. So they're sightseeing or spotting for them. Um, and they use 12-foot leaders with a tippet ring, and then they add at least 3 to 4 more feet of tippet, right? So they fish really long leaders. And I've now started to take that, what I learned in Tasmania, back home to North Idaho. And oh man, my fish count is now way up, And so it's been really cool to just learn different techniques and just apply them to
Hopefully, we
anywhere I
can
go.
get one of those 101s on that as well. What you just mentioned on the tippet and the long leaders. So for those.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what, Heather? Here's where I'm at. Basically, so you're traveling around, you're doing your stuff. You're involved with 50/50 and United Women, you're nursing, just everything. Like, what's next? Like, what's next for you? Like, it seems like the ball just keeps going and rolling, and there has to be a next. And I have a feeling I know what's next, but I want to hear you say what's next.
Oh, I don't know. I've contemplated doing well, Jen and I have kind of talked a little bit about doing potentially a podcast. I don't know. We'll see. I really, honestly, what I foresee in the next year for me is I really want to do more education. I want to do a lot of online education where you subscribe and, rather than just keeping my classes limited to Spokane or wherever I'm traveling, I can record them all and do that, a professional video and be able to share that knowledge all over the world. And that's kind of I
Hmm.
really want to do that. That's kind of a winter project that I'd like to focus on, kind of the education
I
aspect
think
of
that's
it.
a great
But
platform for sure. To offer
yeah.
that.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of this person. It's so bad. I get something going and I just roll with it,
Hmm.
and there's no limit for me.
Oh, I know.
Well, there will be a limit financially. There'll be a limit for me because I fund everything myself, so I have to work as a nurse. But, yeah, I just, whatever keeps coming, I just want to be the best ambassador, for the sport and as I can be.
We talk about ambassadors. I know you're ambassador to a few brands. Who are the brands, and tell us your involvement.
Yeah, so my most recent one is Sims, which is pretty awesome, and very hard to become an ambassador for Sims. And so that was, I when I spoke with Connor about it, I'm the first non really industry
Hmm.
person to ever get a Sims ambassadorship, which is great because they recognize, although I am a nurse and that's my real life, that I just try to give back at every possible moment that I can. My involvement with them is, I've broke
Mhm.
waders, so I do some product testing. And the great thing about it is, I actually broke my zipper on the new zipped waders like 2.5 years ago. And so because I broke them, they have changed some of the design of it. So I love being able to have a say and being able to help with that. And, like the guide jackets, the pockets were too low or whatever it may be. And it's like, hey, girls fish. So let's put them up a little bit, just so and they listen. And so it's been really cool to be a part of that. A huge believer in their product. Um, and then Fishy Wear. So Fishy Wear is an Alaska owned company. It's women owned. And if anyone has follows me, they know that I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
color. So I love bright, crazy colors. Unless I'm in New Zealand, then I have to wear all camo, and I understand why, which I'm a little saddened by that. But so I love just kind of the fun. I love stylish. I love still being a girl, right? I can maybe, I can fish well, but I still can be stylish, have accessories. And then Sea to Summit.
Mhm.
So Sea to Summit is a company that has nothing to do with fly fishing, but it's a lot of products, camping gear, and a lot of backpack, all kinds of really amazing just gear to use in the outdoors. They're awesome products. And then Costa. So I'm affiliated with Costa, and I love being a part of Costa because they actually, for those that don't know, they've divided all of the ambassadors up into 3 different groups. And so they do challenges. And so they challenge us to, kick plastic, and they really focus on what their goals are and what their beliefs are. And they want their ambassadors to feel the same way. And
And
they
do
won't
those
choose people that way.
do
So,
those goals and beliefs, like, align with your values as
oh,
well?
absolutely.
Yeah?
100%. Yeah,
That's great.
absolutely.
That's
And
that's good when it aligns together, right?
yeah, I would never be, I have offers a lot, and it's like, I'm just not interested. Or,
Mhm,
people will contact me and say, hey, we want to give you this, but you have to post, um, 3 things on whatever it may be. And it's like, if you look at my feed, it's real, and it's lifestyle, and
mhm.
I don't want to sell out. And I will only choose, like anybody that I'm affiliated with, I want to truly believe in that product. And I will never not do anything that I don't believe in, or that, my values don't align with theirs. So
Okay,
that's big for me. So
for sure. Is there any other, like, ambassadorships?
not really. I mean, Pistol, which is like a fun little hat company out of Hood River, Oregon. But yeah, nothing really.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I try to be I don't really want to be brand
Yeah.
specific. And I say that because as a woman's ambassador, I know that Sims waders aren't going to fit every body type. And I know that Patagonia won't, and I know that Orvis won't. But I know that I know all the different brands really well, that I could look at somebody and help them and say, hey, why don't you go try on this brand? And so I don't want to be brand specific. I want to be able to, do whatever I can, so.
No, that's cool. I think it's great, and what people don't realize is, like you said multiple times, is you do fund this out of your nursing career, just like I do as well. So it's kind of creating that, image there, so that you're not all funded and brand specific. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Like, let's
Not,
call it that's the real deal is you're not all funded, and you're not brand specific, and you're not getting thousands of dollars and stuff like that. So when
oh
you say
gosh.
you like something, you genuinely like it, and
Oh, absolutely.
that's what I'm trying to point
100%.
out here, is that you know what I mean? You are 100% for that. So, you know what, Heather, I always ask my guests one question, and that question is, what's one thing you would change within the fly fishing industry? And that's my question to you.
Perception. Just I already kind of honed in on it.
Hmm.
I just, um, you know, when don't perceive or don't judge a book by its cover. And you never know who you're going to talk to or what those people's experiences are. and don't question if they fish, or don't perceive that. I think that's the biggest thing that I would change in the fly fishing industry.
Yeah, well
Perception.
said. Definitely. So for sure. I like it. What finally, what's your biggest takeaway from everything that's going on in your career from fly fishing? What would you say your biggest takeaway that you've learned, and advice that you can offer someone new getting into the sport would be?
My biggest takeaway is that there's so much value in a community, and there's so much value in a group or friends, or, just being a part of something. And whether it's an organization or a club or a totally non-affiliated anything. And I think my biggest my recommendation or my word of advice is to just do it. Don't be intimidated. Just get out there and do it. And there will be times that you may not catch fish, but when you're not trying and you're not doing it, then you're you can't catch a fish
Mhm.
without having your fly in the water. So I think it's just continue with it and know that sure, maybe you weren't successful by landing a fish, but you're successful in getting better and learning and just becoming a better angler all in all. And that's my, don't be afraid, just do it. Just do it.
Where can we find you at?
Well, obviously, United Women on the Fly. It's on Facebook and on Instagram. The website. So our handle is at United Women on the Fly. Pretty easy. There's a public United Women on the Fly Facebook page as well as a closed group. And then our website. It's www obviously dot uwotf or unitedwomenonthefly.com. And me personally, I'm Northwest Fly Girl. It's funny because some people don't even know what my name is, but they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're Northwest Fly Girl." It's pretty funny. And then my email address, info at unitedwomenonthefly.com. And I'm always open to chat or talk or email or help in any way I can. I'm kind of known as the middle woman. And so by being the middle woman, meaning that if you're going to go fish in Florida, perhaps I can connect you with the Sunshine Women on the Fly or another, a good guide or whatever. So please don't hesitate to not just reach out and I can try to help connect you with
Perfect. I think
somebody
that's well
wherever you
said.
want to
So,
travel.
you know what, Heather, I definitely want to thank you today for being a guest on the show. I've learned a lot. You made my job extremely easy. Um, other than that, yeah, it's been fantastic. So I want to thank you, and I also want to thank the listeners as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries.